everyone, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel. I decided to start sharing with you some week in the life content because this year, 2022, Allie is doing week in the life in June, which is fast approaching. It is now early May and we're getting closer to it. In the past, she has done it in May. So I'm kind of excited to do a little bit of a different time period because I've been doing this project, I want to say, for about 7 years. And I thought it would be fun to share with you some of my older week in the life albums. So I've typically done the 6x8 pocket page style, but I'm starting with my 2019 album here, which I did a digital photo book from Blurb. So this is a 7x7 photo book. And at this time, I had never done a photo book before. So you can see I learned a few things here. I got the E cut off in week in the life. And here I did this who we are that kind of went across the edge. So I learned some stuff, but I still love how this came out. So I started the album with a currently list for each person in my family member, which I got, I asked everyone to fill out their questions, and then I put a little bit about the dog and the cat. Then I started each day with a very simple template that I created with the date and the day of the week and a large photo. I really focus on photos and words for week in the life, much more than some other projects. If you follow me and you've seen a lot of my other projects, I do like to get crafty. I like to do, a lot more embellishing sometimes, but for week in the life, I tend to not do that, or at least I didn't used to. You'll see I will share my 2020 and my 2021 albums in the next couple of weeks, and you can see how my style has kind of evolved and how I like to mix it up. So I started each day with the word hello and then the day of the week and kind of went into my journaling and just went back and forth between photos and journaling throughout the day in chronological order. At this time and prior to this, for week in the life, I had really just kind of done chronological storytelling of everything that was going on that day, but I didn't really do prompt-based storytelling. Instead, I just included the photos and journaled, this is what I did, and this is what I did at this time, and, some stories from the day, but it was just kind of, what happened. Here I included some screenshots, which I absolutely love, and that's something I plan to do I've done in later years and plan to continue doing. But the way that I did my journaling is something I have switched up, and I actually really like it much better with the prompt-based journaling. But I do love how this album is so photo and word heavy, and there's not much else. I did include some digital chipboard pieces. Most of them are from Allie Edwards, if not all. What I did when I was creating this was I went through my digital chipboard stash and pulled out anything that was very, week in the life oriented. And I chose to use that for my embellishing, but it wasn't a specific week in the life kit. I included some full page photos like this, which I absolutely love how that turned out. And also some collages of smaller photos like this with a little embellishment here. I like the balance of the photo and the white space. And then I'm moving into Tuesday. So every day follows a very similar formula with a photo up front with the day of the week, hello Tuesday, and my journaling and photos. I created a few templates for myself as I was putting this together and kind of used ones that just made sense at the time based on the format of photos. So you will see as I continue on through this album that some of the layouts I use over and over, such as this with the photo that goes across, and then there's journaling. That's a setup I use pretty frequently, but it really wasn't in a formula per se. It was really just kind of what made sense for the photos, and I put them pretty much in chronological order. I do have to say that putting this album together took me a really long time. I absolutely love how it came out, but Week in the Life is such a photo heavy project. There is a lot of photo editing, and sometimes that can get a little boring and tedious. So it really wasn't, it was one of those projects where I enjoyed it at the beginning, I enjoyed it at the end, and I enjoyed the finished product, but I really had to kind of push myself through that messy middle portion, as Allie likes to call it. So that's something to keep in mind if you want to do digital. The benefit to digital is it doesn't make a mess, and you can work on it especially if you're working on like a tablet or a phone, you can work on it wherever you want. So for this album and for all of my projects, I use Photoshop Elements. When I do a blurb book like this, I create all of my templates and pages in Photoshop Elements, and then I add them into the Bookright software that is for blurb. So you can see here, so the Bookright software just allows you to kind of bring the pages in, and that's what I did. So you can see some of my template work is not perfect. Like I said, this was my first digital project, but I'm still super thrilled with how it came out. I really just I love looking back on these photos now. It's a few years. We're no longer in this house. My daughter's so much older. You know, a lot of things have changed in my life since this point in time. So it's just so much fun to look back and see, you know, what a week in our life looks like at this point in time. Week in the Life is my absolute favorite project. Even though sometimes it can get tedious to put it together, it's my favorite one to look back on and just kind of flip through these albums, which is something I really do pretty much every year when Week in Life comes around. I love to flip through them and see kind of what were the stories I told, what was my life like at that time, what has changed, what stayed the same. At this point in time, we were planning to build a house. We were just starting the process. And so here I am kind of working on some edits to the floor plan. And now I have been in this house for 2 years and I'm filming this video from that house. So it's so much fun to kind of go back and see that and see, you know, my old kitchen, you know, cleaning my old house, and kind of also seeing like the flow of my week. At this point in time, this was pre-pandemic, so stuff was just so different. My daughter was in middle school. Her friends have all changed. She looks so different. You know, the dog looks different. The dog's now old. It's just so fun to go back and look on back at these projects. I think even more so than anything else and than any of my other projects. For Week in the Life, I really focus on these photos and I focus on the words. For the journaling during Week in the Life, I tend to do all of my journaling in the moment. You know, at the end of each day, I sit down and type up my words, and I try to edit my photos as I go or soon thereafter, and then I put the album together. So here I am, you know, in my office and kind of showing, you know, how my work goes. I can't take a ton of photos of my work. I'm an attorney, a tax attorney, and a lot of the stuff I do is secret. But something like this, a court decision, is public, so I can share that. But I pretty much don't have a ton of photos of my actual work day. You know, then I went to the grocery store. So I get kind of nervous doing the, you know, timer photos in public, but I was able to take some photos like this, a top-down photo of my shopping cart. I love seeing what I still buy and what has changed. Doing these in May, we have a ton of tulips here. So I have all these fabulous photos of flowers from my yard and from my town that I'm able to kind of intersperse in here. I have the photos of me cooking. I haven't made that meal in a while and it looks delicious. And I just kind of love just looking at this. You can see I added a few little of the digital chipboards here and there, but really it's mostly just words and photos. Most of the pages are like this, where there's just some photos, there's some words, and that's it. Now we're moving into Saturday. And so the weekend, of course, my routine switches up a little bit. Photo of my old shower, which I hated. And then we went to Tulip Fest. And so Allie had done this project during the same week every year for a while. So we always captured Tulip Fest, which is actually the week that is right now when I'm filming this video. But it's not going to be for Week in Life this year, which I actually like that it's switching up. I'm still going to document going to Tulip Fest, which is a tulip festival in my town, just like it sounds like. I'm going to document in my project life, but I absolutely love how these photos turned out. And it was really hard to kind of narrow down the photos that I wanted to include in my album from Tulip Fest, because there's so many photos. And this is the photo they ended up choosing for the cover of the book here. So you can see I did a wraparound photo cover. And then, you know, back to home, and I can see, you know, I was working on my stamp organization. This is back when I first started it. The show I was watching at the time, you know, cooking dinner again, working on my cross stitch project, which I've made a lot more progress than that, but I kind of abandoned it a while ago. I need to go back to that. And then moving into Sunday. So typically during Week in the Life, when Sunday comes around, I go back before the day and look through all my photos and see what have I missed? What have I not yet captured that I want to capture? And I was able to do that. Here I spent some time with my daughter. I did laundry, some time in my craft room, in my old craft room. And I love seeing how this looks similar to what I have in my current craft room and how it looks so different, because I'm in a new house now and it's been a while and things have changed. And the projects that I was working on at the time, going out to dinner and the food that we got, and then finishing off the album very simply with folding laundry. And then I finished it with just a little chipboard piece here. And that's it. I absolutely love how this book came out. I don't think that I will do digital for Week in the Life again, maybe someday, but not in the near future. But I'm still so happy that I did it. And if this is something that you're interested in, this was a very economical option and a very simple option that really helps you get your stories told. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will be back sharing 2020 Week in the Life in probably a couple of weeks.